let's say you were traveling, you're going to go on primarily a business trip somewhere. That's the motivation that's triggering the travel, and your family comes with you. Tell us how you would integrate them into your travels while you're making a business trip of some kind.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it really just depends on the circumstance of that trip. Sometimes we have a minivan that we can convert ourselves into a camper van. So sometimes it's like, hey, let's load up and we're driving to wherever, and we'll spend 2 days on the road and get there, and then I'll do my speaking engagement or my business meeting or whatever, and then we'll head back. Sometimes I'll just go myself because that's easier. Sometimes I'll take the kids along because my wife will have something else going on, like in the city that we're at, and my kids are like the only children, at this like conference, and so it just really depends upon the situation and the circumstance. But it's pretty flexible.
And your oldest is how old now, and what are the ages again of your kids?
Yep. So we have a 12-year-old daughter. Her name is Rowan, and then we have a 10-year-old son, and his name is Sayre.
So they are, if they were going to regular schools rather than homeschool, they would be what grades now?
I don't know.
That's funny that you say that. I have 4 children, and I don't think I've ever shared this before, but we homeschooled all 4 of ours for at least portions of all of their 12 pre-college years. And our oldest was homeschooled all the way through high school. And there was a pretty specific reason for that. He was an athlete, and a pretty good one in what he did. He was actually on the U.S. national cycling team, and he had to train 6 to 8 hours every day, every day. And he went down and lived for a part of each year at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. Part of our motivation for moving to Denver was to be close to the OTC so that when he was there, we could visit him, and it made an easy commutes back and forth. So we only lived about 45 minutes from where he would be living when he was there. But I was leading to it's funny you say you're not sure which grade. I think if we would have had all of ours at one time in homeschool, we would have answered the question the same way. We wouldn't have been sure. What would you say as it relates to their peers, similar ages, that their education level would be comparatively similar, ahead of them, behind? What's your observation?
So that's a good question. I think the answer is yes to all of that. There are some things like where they're ahead. There are some things where they're behind. There are some things like where they're right there with their peers. But it's mostly geared towards like what makes them happy and unstressed, and they can kind of follow their passions. And so we're not overly worried if they're behind in something or neutral in something, because a lot of the studies and data show that they will, if we let them follow their passions, they will get there eventually. So they're just like I was. I went to public school. Like there are things that I was head in and behind in and neutral in, or grade level. So I would say they're on par academically, with their peers. The big difference is sort of like how they live their life and their days. It's just a little bit different. They don't spend a lot of time or any time like sitting, like in a desk in school. They're out gardening or out with me morel hunting, or zip lining, or just doing other stuff. So it's not so much the academic front as just sort of the letting them be kids, whatever that means.